President Trump seems to be very bothered that the Portland protesters have not submitted to his authority and have actually been emboldened by the Trump administration's tactic of escalation, which sent him into a quivering rage. On Twitter, basically in the middle of the night, about 11 p.m. Eastern last night, says, the fake news media is trying to portray the Portland and Seattle protesters as wonderful, sweet, innocent people just out for a little stroll. No, we're not. That's 100% not true. Complete and utter BS. In fact, if anything, the media tends to focus on the violence. If it bleeds, it leads. There's been actually peaceful protests for weeks, and yet the media doesn't pay as much attention to it. And so, yeah. And he lives in a completely different world. So now, that said, they have talked about how the protesters are not thrilled about Donald Trump's agents operating within the city, Portland, because in 99% of the cases, the agents there are the ones who have started escalating and actually created the violence. So now then Trump ties this issue to his campaign and makes a dire warning, right? He said, quote, actually, the protesters are sick and deranged anarchists and agitators who are great men and women of law enforcement easily controlled. Easily. Okay, so they're dangerous, sick anarchists and agitators, but don't worry, our law enforcement controls them pretty easily. So don't worry about it. But who would destroy our American cities and worse if sleepy Joe Biden, the puppet of the left, ever won? For one, I wish Joe Biden were a puppet of the left. That would be fantastic. That'd be, oh my God, things you wish were true. I wish, do you remember during the primary where, Democrats argued, no, we can't nominate Bernie Sanders because then the Republicans are going to call him a socialist and a communist, and then we'll lose. Well, what are they doing to Joe Biden right now? That he's a puppet of Bernie Sanders, that he's a socialist and communist, and that, we got to vote against him. Oops. Well, that didn't turn out well, right? Oops. I tell you, the Democratic consultants for the establishment are the dumbest people on earth. Or maybe not. Maybe they're not dumb. Maybe, because they get paid no matter what, so they can have the stupidest opinions and be like, oh, no, our strategy should be to go against populism and go for the status quo and go for the least, the Republicans are in danger and they're deeply unpopular. I know. Let's defend Republicans. Nailed it. Let's be more like them. Awesome. Great strategy, guys. But they get paid nonetheless. But anyway, okay. So now let's talk about the sick and deranged anarchists and agitators. These are people like the Wall of Moms, grandpas and grandmas, dads with leaf blowers. All this we've talked about before. And U.S. veterans. Those are your deranged anarchists and agitators. Yeah. So now, one more part of this. Donald Trump continues to paint this bleak picture if Joe Biden wins. He says, markets would crash and cities would burn. Our country would suffer like never before. Wait a minute. That's what's happening right now. Literally right now. Under Donald Trump, the markets have crashed. Under Donald Trump, there were cities, or at least, parts of them, obviously, that were on fire. I mean, again, over police brutality. So wait, so you're going to point at the stuff that happened under your administration and be like, I can't believe Joe Biden. That's what I mean. That's what Joe Biden's tenure is going to look like. It's going to look like the U.S. under me. Oh my god, dumbest person, dumbest man in America. Again, it's not exactly a winning message, but look, it's all he's got: fear, 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 fear. Right. So nothing riles up racist conservative voters, than telling them that the Antifers are going to come to your shack and burn it down. It gets them every time. Like, the Antifers. I'll grab my AK or my AR-15. I'm going to show them violent communists. Oh, come on. No, they're not coming to your podunk ass town, right? So just calm down. It ain't going to happen. Look, okay. So here's the thing about that message as well. So a lot of people, most of the people that are voting for Joe Biden, right, are doing so not because he'll change things, not because he'll shake things up, right? I mean, look, we're pretty shook right now under Donald Trump, and so there's a lot of voters that are like, no, not in favor, right? We don't like this. We don't want to be shook like this. Actually, all we wanted was healthcare. Let's go back to some status quo, right? Let's go back to normal. Now, you guys know I want to shake things up in a positive way, right? For example, I want to, shake up Congress, right? Get some newer, fresh, progressive faces in there, women of color like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Cori Bush, get these people not only, keep those people in Congress, AOC and Tlaib and all them, but also get fresh faces, Jamal Bowman and Cori Bush, Betsy. Get these people in office. Get these young, progressive voices, or I don't care if they're not young. I don't care if they're old, right? Just get progressive voices in Congress so that we can get health care, right? We can raise people's wages. We can, rebuild our infrastructure and use it to launch a massive jobs program. Of course, after we do what's necessary to beat coronavirus. Let's do that. That would be great. Now, Donald Trump, not interested in shaking things up that way. His shakeup was to be probably the most transparently racist administration in history. Anti-Muslim, anti-LGBT, right? Anti-trans, anti-Mexican, anti-Asian, right? And not only that, but to put his cronies into positions of power to basically redirect the flow of money to themselves and to Donald Trump. And it worked. Now we have a big swamp. Sorry. We have a gigantic swamp. That corruption is in our faces. We can see it with our own eyes. But it's not just the corruption about Trump. It's the incompetence. It's the junior high mentality of, if I scream really loud and I beat my chest, people are going to listen. That's what Donald Trump's doing right now. If I send in the troops, he says, then people will finally respect me because I'm strong. No, people don't respect you because that's un-American. Sending the troops, or at least it's against the ideals of America. I know we've done this plenty of times, sending in troops to take down peaceful protesters, especially those who are fighting for minority rights. We have a gigantic history of, basically suppressing that. But ideally, right, against our ideals of equality and justice and freedom, these, sending in the troops to places like Portland and threatening Chicago and Albuquerque and Detroit and all these places, and Baltimore as well. I mean, it's just it's against what they claim to believe as conservatives, and so it's disgusting. It's disgusting, and he's having basically what it is that he's an angsty teen having a freak out. And that's what Donald Trump is. To anarchists, agitators, why won't they just submit to me? Why? I tell you what, though, President Trump has destroyed our cities, right? Has destroyed our ties to people abroad, to the rest of the world, right? We're the laughing stock of the world. Countries will not let us in because they're afraid, right? They're afraid of not only of our coronavirus, but of like the third of Americans who are just deeply ignorant and racist. And so I should say a third of American voters. Uh, and actually they're a pretty small minority, but at the same time, right? He's destroyed faith in our institutions, in doctors, in medicine, in academia, all of that stuff. And all of that is of course a result of Republicans chipping away at those institutions for years. But we live in a time where this country is deeply anti-intellectual, and it is really scary. As far as Trump is concerned, though, he only does that stuff to feed his ego. He believes in all sorts of conspiracy theories and old racist stereotypes and all that stuff, and basically agrees with the things that make him look good to feed that ego. And really, I think part of it is also to feed that desire to be loved because daddy didn't love him enough when he was growing up. I would feel bad for him if he were not such a monstrously dangerous human being.